Traci Ani and welcome back to my channel. So today's video, as you know by the title, is my favorite trilogies. And all of the books on this list, all YA, they're all young adult. And like, for these trilogies, the pictures of the books that I'll be showing are the first book in said trilogy. So also, little disclaimer here. For most of these books, I read them so long ago that I just don't remember what they're about. So I'm really bad at like remembering what books are about because either it's been so long or the book made little to no impact on me that I just don't remember what it's about. But what I do remember is like how good the book was, hence why it's on this list. And all of these books are 5 stars. I love them all. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out there because I realized that when most people are picking up a book, they are interested in what's it about. But when I'm looking at what books I'm interested in reading, what occurs to me first is the cover. So many of these are like cover follows. I would say cover buys, but like I don't buy books. Anyway, the first trilogy is a very underrated trilogy, and it's the Rebel of the Sands trilogy, written by Alwyn Hamilton. I love this trilogy so much. It has magic, I think. Yeah, it has magic. It kind of reminds me of Aladdin. It has like I want to say it has a fast-paced plot, but like I don't remember because I read these books in the years that they were released, which was at least 2 years ago. Because I think they came out in 2016, 2017, and then 2018. So yeah, it was just really, really good. I really loved it. I loved all the characters, even though I don't remember any of the names. But I rated each book in this series 5 stars. And it's so underrated, it's so underhyped, but it deserves so much more hype. So you should definitely read it. It's fantasy. I don't know if I said that. The next trilogy is the Sea of Ink and Gold trilogy, written by Traci Chee. The first book in this series being called The Reader. The second one is The Speaker. And the third one is The Storyteller, I think. This has a very inventive world, and it was so immersive and so interesting and truly unique. And this is fantasy YA. And like I read a lot of fantasy since it's, you know, my favorite genre and all. But like fantasy has a tendency to sound way similar like everything else, which honestly is weird because since it's fantasy, you can make up whatever you want. Yet people must have similar imaginations or something. But this trilogy was inventive and new, and I loved the characters, loved the world building, loved everything about it. And again, it's so underrated, and I don't know why, because it's just so good. Like sometimes with underrated books that I think that are really good, sometimes they're just underrated because people read them and they DNF them or they hated them or whatever. But like with this trilogy, I've honestly never heard of anybody who's read it, ever. And like, I don't know why. And I'm so excited for Traci Chee's new book that's coming out in June or something, and it's called We Are Not Free. And it's about like, I think it's about immigration or something. Anyway, this trilogy is so good, so underrated, deserves so much more hype because it's just so good, just absolutely amazing. I'm gonna go back and reread all of them. Next trilogy on this list is the Gold Seal trilogy, written by Rae Carson. Rae Carson, if she sounds familiar, I think she wrote another trilogy called Girl of Fire and Thorn or something. Anyway, the Gold Seal trilogy is historical fantasy YA. Historical fantasy is an underrated genre, as is historical fiction, as I've already stated. I think that this trilogy is set during the Gold Rush, and I think that the protagonist has the ability to manipulate gold, which is helpful and convenient for her because it's set during the Gold Rush. So that's fun and good and fresh, and inventive and new, and something I've never really encountered before. So this trilogy was so good. Again, I loved the world building, I loved the characters, I liked the time period, I liked, the characters, world building, setting, plot, everything about this trilogy was so good. Again, it's highly underrated. Like Rae Carson is more commonly known for her previous trilogy, especially since her new book, which I believe is set in the same world as the Gold Fire and Thorns, is coming out like next week or something. Anyway, the Gold Seal trilogy should have more hype, and it deserves more hype. And I haven't read Gold of Fire and Thorns because I DNF'd the first one, but the Gold Seal trilogy is so good, so underhyped, and it deserves just as much hype as the Gold of Fire and Thorns. The next trilogy is also historical fantasy, and it's the Mapmakers trilogy written by S.E. Grove. I think that this book is also set during the 19th century, but I'm not completely certain. I read this series so long ago, but I remember that the world building was so inventive, so like the Sea of Incan Gold trilogy. It's so immersive, so interesting, so inventive. Like S.E. Grove, I had never heard of them before, so like it was just so good, so good. I loved the characters, the time period, the world building, the plot. Like, I remember distinctly that each plot twist genuinely took me by surprise. I just remembered, like, I remember thinking, am I the only one who loves this series so much? Like, am I the only one out there? Anyway, this series is just so incredible, and I just really enjoyed it. And I think it's about like a girl who goes and tries to find her missing uncle, and she teams up with this guy to do it. And the historical fantasy element comes in with the maps, hence why it's called the Mapmakers trilogy. And yeah, that's all I remember. And like I said, I think it's set during the 19th century, but don't quote me on it. Just look it up yourself and read the books, because they're just so good and so underrated. The next trilogy on this list is the Across the Universe trilogy, written by Beth Revis. Unlike the previous trilogies, this trilogy is science fiction. Science fiction isn't a genre that I normally gravitate toward. I used to read a bit of it when I was younger, but now, like dystopia, it just kind of sounds the same all the time, which is kind of annoying. Because again, I feel like there's so much room to explore, yet people tend to write the same thing over and over again, which is annoying for me. Anyway, the Across the Universe trilogy is so good. Just so good. The world building, I feel like I keep repeating myself and just keep saying that the world building and the characters and the plot is just so amazing and so wonderful. Like, I don't know what else to say since I don't like remember the synopsis or anything. I just remember that I really love this trilogy, and I'm currently rereading it. So, but I'm like in the beginning of the very first chapter, so like I can't really summarize the synopsis for you. But I can tell you that it's so good. I know that he said that, but it's just so good, and it deserves so much more hype. And I'm honestly surprised. Maybe it's because science fiction is kind of an underrated genre in YA too, or maybe it's not. I don't know. Those aren't really the circles that I run in, so maybe science fiction does have more hype than what I see. If you are an avid science fiction reader. So if you are an avid science fiction reader, I would recommend this trilogy. The next trilogy is called the Leviathian trilogy, written by Scott Westerfeld, whom, like Rae Carson, is more famous for other books that he's written. This is a historical fiction, kind of steampunk. I guess it's not really considered, I wouldn't categorize this as historical fantasy. It's historical steampunk fiction, and I think it's set during World War I. I think. It's either World War I or World War II, but I'm more confident in the fact that it's World War I, so I'm just going to say that it's World War I, and it's just so good. Like, I think that this trilogy is so underrated and so underhyped, and I think, personally, that it's better than the Ugly series. I read the Ugly series when I was like 11 years old. I never read the new one, the Imposters one. I never read that one because I wasn't that invested in it, and it had been so long since I read Uglies. Anyway, Leviathan is so good, so underrated, so underhyped. Can you tell that I started with the underrated books on this list? It's just so good, and more people should read it just because the world building, the plot, the characters, the setting is just so lovely. So now I'm done with all of the underrated, underhyped trilogies. So now I'm going to start on to 3 more popular trilogies. So the first of these next 3 is the Grisha Trilogy, written by Leigh Bardugo. This is fantasy YA, and I found this trilogy to be so good. Yes, Six of Crows is better, blah blah blah, but the Grisha Trilogy is still so good, and I really want to reread them, not just because the TV show is coming up who knows when, but also just because I want to be immersed into the world again of Mal and Alina and David and Genya and just all of the other characters. I love this series so much, and I feel like I don't talk about it because Six of Crows is better, and I love Six of Crows so much, but also Six of Crows is more familiar to me because I read the Grisha Trilogy back to back, all in one swoop. So I don't really remember the individual events of each specific book. But what I do remember is that I rated each of these books 5 stars. I loved them. I love Mal and Alina. I love them. I also love David and Genya. I think that they are an underrated couple. I liked Zoya. I just really loved it, and this was my introduction to Leigh Bardugo. And these books are the reason why Leigh Bardugo is my favorite author, or one of them anyway. And I just love these books. They're just so great, and lots of people crap on them. And I don't think the Grisha Trilogy deserves any of its hate, because it's just so good. And I'm excited to, whenever in the future when I get my hands on them, to reread them. It's just been so long, and I want to reread them. So the next trilogy is The Legend, written by Marie Wu. This is a dystopian YA trilogy, and it was really good. Like, it follows Day and June, and I love them so much. I know that technically you could argue that this is a quartet because of Rebel, but I think that you can read the Legend trilogy alone and then read Rebel alone. Rebel is set 10 years after Champion, and I would view Rebel as a companion novel, so you don't have to read the Legend trilogy before reading Rebel, but it's useful. I read Rebel in like November or something, so it's very like familiar to me, but the Legend trilogy is not that familiar to me right now because it's been so long since I've read it, which is basically the reason for like all of these books, and why I said at the very beginning of this video why I can't really say what the synopsis is, because I might say something that's a spoiler for like the last book or the second book or something, and like I just don't remember the individual events of each book because it's just been so long and I read so much. And for most of these books, it's been at least 2 years since I read the book, or it's been even longer, and I just don't remember. But what I do remember is that Legend is so good. It's just so good. Legend was really good. Prodigy, a little bit of a flop, but Champion came back and is just as good as the first one. And I would highly recommend it if you enjoy dystopian. Like, I read it at a time where dystopia was starting to sound all the same, but Legend truly stands out in the dystopia genre. It's funny that I mentioned dystopia because the last trilogy on this list is The Hunger Games, written by Suzanne Collins, and this one is, I saved it for last because it's a trilogy where I probably don't really need to explain the synopsis because it's so popular. That's why I saved it for last, because I wanted to talk about the more underrated trilogies first. And the sequel is coming up next month, and I'm excited for it, but a little bit skeptical. Anyway, The Hunger Games are so good. Truly deserve all of its hype. And yeah, I just really enjoyed them. I like all the characters. My favorite characters personally are Katniss, obviously, Finnick, Mags, not Madge, I meant Mags. Finnick? Cinna? Katniss. I feel like that's pretty much it. Oh, Johanna. I really like Johanna Mason. love Cole. So yeah, Katniss, Johanna, Finnick, and Cinna. Those are my top 4. I don't really talk about the Hunger Games that often because, I don't know, I don't really know why I don't talk about them. But anyway, they're really good. So, sometimes I feel like I'm not qualified to do these recommended reads videos because I never do a good job either summarizing the synopsis, or I just skip summarizing the synopsis to begin with because I keep saying it's been so long since I've read the books, and that is true. But I don't know, sometimes I just feel not qualified enough to give these book recommendations because I know that the synopsis is what people look for when they're looking at books to read. Anyway, all 9 of these trilogies are so good. Like I said, 6 of them are very underrated. The last 3 that I mentioned are probably really popular, you've probably heard of them, and they're all YA. I don't really have any juvenile fiction books on this list, unfortunately, so sorry about that. But yeah, I hope you really enjoyed my favorite trilogies book recommendations. I will be doing my favorite duologies later on down the line. I've already done a video about my favorite fantasy standalones, so that's in the playlist of recommended reads that I'll link in the description below. So if you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts on them. Yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if you've read any of these books, what your favorite trilogies are, and yeah, thanks for watching.